I just want to give a shout out and a thank you to everybody for joining us. Myself, Sonia, and Nicole are all presenting. We are all passionate about bringing education to the public, things that are not readily available, or maybe there's a whole bunch of different information online, but you don't know where to turn, what to listen to, what's real, what's not. So this is just a passion of ours in being able to provide education to you, and hopefully you find it enlightening and a value-packed evening for you. Um, I myself, and most of you probably know me, but in case you don't, I am a financial professional with New York Life Insurance Company. And Sonia is a business and estate planning attorney who also practices probate with family wealth law. And then we have Nicole Davidson, and she is a tax accounting and business specialist with Two Palms Accounting and Tax Services. She's
Leslie,
recently,
sorry to interrupt. Are you sharing the right screen?
yeah, the top one, the first one. This is one.
There you
Can you
go.
see? Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about myself, and then I will introduce each person as well. So for those of you who don't know me, I have lived all over Florida. I am originally from Colorado, so I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan. You'll see my Zoom background change to Broncos for the rest of football season coming up here. I'm super excited. Um, I love all things outdoors, which is why I live in Florida. I've lived in Miami, Orlando, now Tampa. I have two kids, and I am a self-proclaimed craft beer connoisseur. So a few of you may have joined me at the local breweries as well. But what I do focus on and what we'll be talking about today is how to protect you, your family, your business with life insurance, investments, retirement planning, income protection, long-term care insurance, employee benefits and group coverage, health savings accounts, and individual IRAs. And then now I'm going to introduce Nicole Davidson.
Thanks, Leslie. Can you all hear me? I just had a technical issue there. So,
Yep, we
okay,
can.
good. I dropped off the call and was able to reconnect quick enough. Thank you, Leslie. It's a pleasure to be here. As the accountant on the panel, my role is to take the legal and insurance strategies you'll hear about today and then connect them directly to your bottom line. Ultimately, our goal is to give you the tools to best boost your business financial health and ensure it's built to last. So what you'll learn from my perspective is how to identify opportunities for significant tax savings. Of course, Leslie's going to talk about how to protect yourself from the unexpected liabilities. And then when it comes to keeping you compliant, I want to introduce you to Sonia, our estate planning attorney.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy and grateful you guys are here. I know it's hard. It's almost 7 o'clock, so we're all kind of tired. So this says a lot that you're here at this time after a long day. So thank you. I promise I won't speak in legalese. I am pretty approachable. I know that the subject I speak of is pretty complex, so I break it down in plain English and I give you stories and make it easy for you. I've been an attorney in Florida for 21 years. I currently own Family Wealth Law. I am an estate planning, probate, and small business attorney. I also do guardianships, elder law, and special needs trusts. Within that realm, I've got two kids, my 8-year-old and 14-year-old. I've got a 100-year-old grandpa and my mom who takes care of abuelo. I'm bilingual. I'm from Puerto Rico. And I have 3 paralegals, one of which is laying down right beside me right now. So she might make a grand entrance at some point. So excited to be here with you guys. More people are coming in. This is great.
Awesome. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Nicole. I'm going to kick off the session with just some different ways to help protect you, your family, and your business. And I'll give a little brief explanation, and then Nicole's going to kind of come in after and talk about how that can be a tax advantage benefit to you through your business. So the first thing I want to talk about with you is disability. Disability also is known as replacement for your income if you're unable to work. Funds that could keep your business running during recovery time, especially if you're a business owner. I don't know if y'all have thought about how or who would run your business if you weren't there to do so. And then protection for your family and lifestyle. You still have to have an income coming in if you can't earn an income at that moment. There is some specific laws in the state of Florida that can pertain to you with your business if you do have a disability event. So I want to ask you guys a question, and please feel free to put your answer or your response in the chat. And Sonia will be monitoring the chat throughout the program. So if you have questions that arise as well, please add those in at any time. We'll try to address them through the conversation, but we'll also have a Q&A at the end as well. But I want, if you guys can, put the answer in here. What do you think is your most valuable asset for your family or your situation? So I'll give you guys a couple minutes and you can write your answer in the chat if you have the ability to. I know some of you are on your phone, so it may not be able to be possible. There's no right or wrong answer. So whatever y'all feel is pertinent to you.
Income is a big one here. Yeah, that's part of the reason we do it, right? Because we're not running hobbies, retirement savings.
Any other answers, or is it pretty much those two?
Those two.
Okay. And I would agree with you for both of you. So income, in order to have a retirement or savings account, you're probably going to need an income to put away for the retirement and savings. But income is honestly going to be your most important asset that you can protect. If you don't have that income coming in, maybe some of you are lucky enough to have another source of income. Maybe you got an inheritance, maybe you won a lotto, maybe you have a spouse that's a primary breadwinner and your income is not as pertinent to running your household. But for the majority of people in the United States, income is very important. Most people are 1 to 2 paychecks away from a complete disaster just because there isn't that retirement or the savings built up to be able to fall on. So this is just a very average picture. If you were only making about $50,000 a year, over 20 years of working, you would actually be a millionaire. I don't know if y'all know that, but most of us, well, some of us, I feel like there's a wide range of ages here, have probably already hit that 20-year mark working. And if you couldn't work that total amount, then it could really, or if you can't get that income, it can really hurt your household. So these are some statistics I just wanted to share with you. 1 out of 4 of today's 20-year-olds can expect to be out of work for at least a year because of a disability. Most people would assume that disabilities come in the form of accident, like a car accident. That's the first thing that most people will have come to mind, or injury at work, which would be covered by workman's comp if you have the ability to have that insurance. But 90% of those disabilities are actually caused by illness. So if you guys think about in just your circle, how many people you know that may have been diagnosed with cancer or breast cancer, or just another illness that has taken them out of work for a few months or maybe even a couple years. And then 63% of Americans would find it difficult to meet their current financial obligations if their next paycheck was delayed even just for 1 week. And I'm going to let Nicole speak about the tax benefits for disability, or how that can be a benefit for you.
Yes, thanks, Leslie. That's perfect and absolutely critical overview. And protecting your ability to earn income is non-negotiable. Now, my role as your accountant is to come in behind a great strategy and ask that question that everybody wants to know: how can we make it tax efficient? So when it comes to your personal disability policy, the one that pays you, there's a crucial trade-off. The standard advice is to pay your premiums with your own personal after-tax money. And those premiums are not deductible. But the huge payoff at the end is that when you receive the benefits, the income is 100% tax-free. And alternatively, your business can often pay the premium and deduct it, but if the business takes the deduction, any benefits you receive down the road are fully taxable. So it's a choice between a small tax benefit now or a massive one later.
And we can pause in between as well. So if you guys have any questions about disability or disability insurance, there is short-term disability and long-term disability. So it's a little bit different in both manners. But if you guys want to ask any questions, feel free to put it in the chat and we may be able to address those in between.
The business overhead expense policy.
I'm sorry?
Did you talk about the business overhead expense policy? Do you want to share more about that?
Yeah, give me just a second and I will.
Or I can talk about it. So the business overhead expense policy, it's like the keep the lights on policy. It's much simpler than disability. The job of the BOE is to pay your business bills. So the premiums are tax deductible as a business expense. The catch is that it is considered taxable income, but it becomes a wash because that taxable income can be used to pay tax deductible expenses. So it's like an insurance policy for your business.
Okay, and the next topic that I wanted to speak about is long-term care costs. So if you guys want to put in the chat as well, how many of you may have had an experience with someone who you either had to help take care of, or maybe a family member that had to help take care of somebody through different variations of their life? It doesn't necessarily have to be like during retirement or when people get older. If you've had an event, like one of those medical situations. I'm just curious to know how many people have had that experience.
I see January Michelle does or has had experience with that. A lot of us in the sandwich generation, I call it, you know, have little kids or just minors. And then we've got our older aging parents. And then if we're blessed enough to have our grandparents, then, you know, excuse me, that's even more to take care of. So we've got our hands full while running a business.
Definitely. So I know for myself, I had to take care of my grandmother at a very young age. I was 14 and she was diagnosed with lung cancer, and it was myself, my mom, my uncle, like we all took turns taking care of her. So that's my personal situation. And I know, Sonia, you helped take care of your grandfather, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, Mommy's taking care of him now because he lives with her, but we're literally 40 minutes, my door to her door. And, you know, if I need to be there in 20 minutes, then my minivan just flies through the sawgrass in case of an ER visit or things like that. Yeah.
So just something to consider as well. It's a lot of people don't think of this. So this is why it's very important for me to bring this topic to your attention. It's very important as you're doing your tax strategies and as you're doing your retirement planning to allocate some funds aside towards long-term care costs. I'm sure all of us can imagine, I mean, we live in a retirement state. People come here from all over the country to retire. And I know this is kind of not, I don't know if they say this anymore, but from when I first moved to Florida, like 20 something years ago, they always called it God's waiting room because that's where you were going to land before you made your final destination. But if you don't put any costs aside for long-term care, whether it's having someone come to your house short term, help you out, or maybe in an assisted living facility, then it is going to rapidly deplete your retirement. And if you aren't aware of how much the cost of nursing home care in Florida is, there's a little pamphlet we'll send out information for you where you can look at the local costs. But the average cost of nursing home care in Florida exceeds $5,000 per month.
Oh, yeah. I was actually in an assisted living facility summit last month, and assisted living facilities are, popping up everywhere because there's not enough beds for the amount of boomers that are becoming elder. And the rate in South Florida, where I'm in Broward. So I am about maybe 30 minutes away from Boca. In Boca, the beds are 15,000 plus per month.
Mhm.
And then depending on the level of care that the person needs, you just keep adding to that bill.
Yeah, 5,000 is very minimal. That's probably going to be what you get on a Medicaid care. So things to think about. These are some thought-provoking questions I really want you guys to think about if it's not something that you've considered. And maybe this doesn't pertain to you. A lot of us are younger, so it could pertain more to your parents. So you want to have that conversation with them because you might be this person and you might not know it. But in the event of your parents or even yourself, have you determined who would be in charge of your care? So let's say if God forbid you were on a disability situation or maybe your parents are, aging, who's going to care for them? Are they assuming it's going to be you? And have they talked to you about it? Do they have the ability to care for you, or do you have the ability to care for them while you're working your full-time job or your current lifestyle, balancing your business? Next question would be, how are you going to pay for that care? So again, you want to make sure that you are allocating some funds aside for that, as you get older. But some of the care, home health care is $29.12 per hour. And that's again on the very minimal low side. So if you just had a nurse come in and take care of somebody for a couple hours, 2-bedroom assisted living facility, again we talked about that $5,000 a month being very low, but private room nursing is $116,654 a year, and this is according to Tampa's in area. So I'm sure Sonia, it's a little bit more expensive where you are. And then also think about, and this is an important question to ask your parents as well, where would you prefer your care to take place? Maybe in your home. I think all of us could relate to that versus being in an assisted living facility or a nursing home. So I just wanted to bring to your attention having that cost for care in the forefront of your mind, especially as your parents or your loved ones are aging. And Nicole can talk about how or if or when that is a tax write-off.
Yes, so of course, the big question, once you have a great strategy, the next question is it deductible? And the answer is maybe, because the rules are very specific. The IRS limits how much of your long-term care premium can be deducted. It is considered a medical expense, which is part of your itemized expenses. And the limit is based on your age. So the older you are, the more you can deduct. For businesses, though, there are different ways to write off those premiums. As a C Corp, you can have owner-employee benefits, and so it can be paid off 100% through the business. But if you're an S Corp or an LLC, which is the space where most people are, it's not so cut and dry. You would need something called a health reimbursement arrangement, which is similar to an HSA. And if you're curious about that, get with Leslie and she can tell you more about it.
If anybody has questions about long-term care or how that may pertain more in a certain situation, feel free, again, put those questions in the chat. We're happy to address them at the end. The next thing I wanted to talk about is protecting your business, especially if you have a business partner. I know some of us are solopreneurs or maybe associated with another company like myself, I work with New York Life. I know Jen, you're with like Keller Williams. So it may be a little bit different for some of us, but a lot of you are your business. So there's a couple ways to use life insurance in protecting yourself, your family, your business, and your employees. And I'm just curious, so if y'all want to put in the chat, how many of you have life insurance either through your company or personally?
Michelle, yes, personally. Keisha personally, Gregory personally, Kat personally, I do personally, Teresa personally, and Nicole personally.
Awesome. I'm excited to see that because I would hope if you know me that y'all have it. So, but I know some of you may or may not know this, and this is something important to think about, especially if you are scaling your business as well. If you are in the position where maybe you're needing to take on some employees or have a business partner, then there are a couple different ways that life insurance is important within your business. And I'm going to have Sonia explain these two positions for you.
Okay, so before we go into that, I want to give you an umbrella, big point of view information about how probate and what is probate in Florida. So we're all business owners here. We know that income is our main concern, or one of our main concerns to protect our family with, right? So as business owners, our question is always, what would happen to my business if I were to become incapacitated or if I were to pass away? And incapacitated could be a temporary like an accident, let's say a car accident or a surgery that goes wrong, an infection hits, things like that. All kinds of things happen, unfortunately. So what happens when something like that happens? Okay, if it's a temporary disability or a situation that makes you incapacitated, you don't need the same type of legal documents. What you would need is very simple. One of the biggest things that you would need is a durable power of attorney. With the durable power of attorney, you can protect your business and keep it going alive, keep the bills paid, keep the employees paid, keep the software, the independent contractors, everybody running smoothly. The partnerships, the vendors, anything that you consistently pay off, you would have your right-hand person be able to do those things for you. Another thing that I wanted to mention when Leslie was speaking about long-term insurance, I do guardianships and I do them for minors also, for special needs populations and for elderly. And one of the things that I see that the judges really push is for people to have a durable power of attorney. Once you have a durable power of attorney, the assumption is that the person does not have to be a ward of the state, does not have to lose all of their rights completely, because the person has somebody that is the agent to work for them, to do the things that they would need to do but are no longer able to do. So having a durable power of attorney is a very effective way to protect yourself and your integrity as a person and your liberty and your rights. So if you were to become incapacitated, you would not be as potentially vulnerable to having a guardianship put over you. So I don't want to digress too much, but that was important for you guys to know, because I know that we've got aging parents. We talked about that already. So it's a good thing for you guys to know. So why do we need the protection for the business? So that we keep it running. If we get in a car accident or anything like that, we've got the power of attorney. We've got somebody that can handle the business for us. In addition to that, if we were to pass away, then there's more things that we need. We need a very clear estate plan that allows you to protect the key person and the people that you are going to be willing and able to sell it to. This comes into play very often when you are the key individual. So you are the licensed professional. You are and Leslie will talk more about that, because there's ways to link insurance and fund it. But basically, it's a very important way and tool needed as part of the estate plan. And then the buy-sell agreement is a legal document that is formed to protect and to give you the ability to designate what type of sale you're going to have, what the valuation is going to be, what the criteria is going to be, whether your partner's spouse can buy it or not. It can be that specific. Let's say, for example, I love examples. Let's say that you are a plumber and you are really good at plumbing and you're the worker. And then you've got your partner who is the money, right? So your partner doesn't know anything about plumbing, but your partner came in with all the money and you're buddies and you're running this business and it's going really awesome. A lot of things are breaking and, plumbers make a lot of money. The plumber passes away. The other partner doesn't know anything about plumbing. And now the plumber's spouse, who doesn't know anything about plumbing either, wants to run the business because she says, no, I got this. I can handle it. That would be a no-no because that's a way to destroy that company. So that is an example of the type of situation where you would benefit from having very specific criteria for a buy-sell agreement. Aside from the buy-sell agreement, you would have a trust so that the business does not have to go through probate. Why do you want to avoid probate? It's very simple. There's a lot of time involved in probate and there's a lot of money. There's a big expense. I make most of my money as an attorney, I'm being very transparent, on probate. The bigger the estate, the better. The better for the attorney and the better for the personal representative. You lose a ton of money in probate because it's based on the percent of the amount of that estate. So you want to avoid that. In addition to that, it's public. So all kinds of creditors pop out of the woodwork to come in and try to take your money from your estate versus having it in trust where you don't go near the courthouse. There's no publication on newspapers. There's no potential people that pop out of everywhere that now they're related to you. They were not related to you before, or they forgot they were family. But all of a sudden, oh, well, I want a piece of that pie. He said, she said, that happens. The family, it's sad. Think of Jerry Springer, but like to the nth power. I'm sure you guys have watched Jerry Springer. I hope I'm not the only one. Think of that. It can be ugly. And it's avoidable. It's preventable. And it's definitely a big risk for not just your family unity, but your business, because your business is gonna have to take out loans. It's gonna have to create some sort of backup plan while you are in mourning, while you are trying to just survive all the emotions and every other logistic in your life that you're dealing with. So it's something that you want to avoid. Is there another page for me, Leslie? Or that was it?
For that one,
Okay.
yes, we've got the other one for you.
Perfect. So now you take it from there.
Yeah, this is Nicole. So again, what part of like a key man agreement or life insurance or things like that are able to be written off?
So that's a great question. Again, coming back to, is it deductible? And the answer is almost always no. And that's because your business is the beneficiary of the policy, and the death benefit that the business receives is 100% tax-free. So it's not tax deductible because you get it tax-free later. So it's a simple trade-off. But the bigger issue is how the buy-sell are structured, as Sonia pointed out. If you have a C Corp, it's pretty straightforward. The stock can just be bought back. But when you have an S Corp or an LLC, whether the company buys the shares of the surviving part or the surviving partner buys them or they go public, it all has significant long-term tax consequences. And so, again, getting something wrong like this can lead to some major tax headaches down the road. So you want to make sure, and it's critical, that your attorney and your tax professional are talking to each other to set this up.
This is exactly why all three of us have come together, because I have made it my mission that anytime I'm working with my business clients that I am in a place where I can have everybody working together so that everybody is speaking to each other. And that puts you in the best position if God forbid something did happen, or just in general. You want to make sure you're not having a big tax headache and we're all doing everything right. So having someone like Nicole in your court is super important. Uh, the way you fund those agreements is through a life insurance policy, and there are quite a few different ways that you can fund it. So you have term policies, you have whole life policies, you have variations of everything. So if even in your current policies that you have, if you're not sure about it, get with your agent, or I'm always happy to overlook your policies as well. If you do have a buy-sell agreement in place, that's when you're wanting to have an attorney look at it or an accountant, because they're the ones who structure it to make sure that it has all the legalities in place to protect your business. Lastly, we want to talk about, again, if you're scaling, maybe you're not in the position to have another partner or somebody else who is co-owning the business with you, but maybe you are needing to bring on some employees, or some of you are maybe already trying to, or have some employees or having a hard time retaining them. So one of the easiest ways to keep your employees engaged and working with you and not looking for another job, aside from you being an amazing boss, is to have benefits in place. There's a whole bunch of different benefits you can have. I know the number one thing most people think about is health insurance. We do, if you guys don't have a health insurance agent that you're comfortable reaching out to, or you just don't even know where to start there, health insurance is probably the biggest expense to a company or to your business aside of payroll. Nicole and I know quite a few people we can send your way if you are needing help there. But you also can do ancillary products like group term life insurance, voluntarily like employee whole life insurance, where you're not even paying for it, your employees can pay for it. Group term disability insurance. So short-term disability is really important if you have a female staff, that will also cover maternity leave. I know some people don't think about that, but if you don't have that in place, then you have to pay out for that maternity leave if you want to offer that to your employee. Long-term care insurance is also a insurance that you can offer to your, or benefit you can offer to your employees. And then retirement strategies. So kind of what Nicole was talking about earlier, having like an HSA or an IRA or 401k, all those types of benefits are helpful. So I'm curious to know if you guys want to put in the chat, how many of you are entrepreneurs or have your own business that actually have benefits, and what kind of benefits do you offer or do you have for yourself? Let's take a couple minutes and post in there.
Roth IRA, health insurance. Pay a percent of their health insurance. Doesn't have benefits for herself other than personal.
Kind of a pretty fair mix. So if there are, again, any benefits that you feel like you're missing, what's the reason that you haven't gotten them?
I think lack of knowledge, to be honest, to jump in for, for people. I think lack of knowledge, and I'm an attorney, that you would think I know these things, but no.
I think that people assume it's really expensive.
That was my
And
thought.
when I tell people that you can start an HSA account for $50 a month, they're like, okay, sign me up. Because the reason that even comes up is because they're asking me, how can we save more on taxes, and contributing to your retirement, like an HSA or 401k, which I'll talk about later, are simple ways right there to just save on your taxes. But they're not that expensive.
So is there any other reason that y'all don't have it other than lack of knowledge, or thought that it would be too expensive, the cost maybe? I know sometimes when you're starting out, you don't have room for it in your budget at
Just too
all.
much work. Too much work having to figure it out.
This is true, not having the right people around you. So, and again, that use your resources. That's one thing I will say. Myself and Nicole, and I'm sure Sonia is very well connected within our communities. We have really strove to build a large network of reliable, trustworthy people. So again, if you need somebody for anyone, then reach out to us. And if we don't know you on a personal level in your business, get to know us, because we're always happy to help promote each other's business.
Oh, yes, definitely. I second that. And it's really good to be in the right room. This is really good you guys came out because, we're talking about important things that are hard to find. And it's not the same to just start Googling because you don't really know what you don't know. So
It's true.
this is good.
But here's the fun part, because I know I've been kind of back and forth, like, no, it's not deductible, maybe it's deductible. But the good news is, when it comes to employee benefits, it is all deductible. The government actively encourages you to offer these benefits to your employees. So it's a great way to attract good talent, to retain talent, things like contributions for the employee health insurance, or we talked about, IRA and 401k, excuse me, but you can also company match. You've heard of those, the 5% company match that some do. You can offer that for your employees. They put 5% of their paycheck and you can match that 5% and you can write off that 5%, right? And then there's the IRAs, whether you're through an employee plan or just a self-employed IRA. There's the traditional, which you get that small tax write-off in the beginning, or there's the Roth IRA, which is after tax dollars, but you can withdraw it tax-free later on. So which to choose, it's really up to you and what your goals are. But they're all really great ways to attract and retain. And that long-term care that Leslie was talking about, while again, it's not deductible on your personal tax, but the business can write it off if it's an employee benefit. And so just because you're in Florida, we don't have state income tax. We want to make sure that you're really maximizing on the federal level of where you can save.
So Nicole, question for you. If I am my own and only employee, does that still apply?
That depends on how your company is structured. As an LLC, the answer would be no. But as an S Corp, where you're on a payroll and now you're an employee of the company, you can take advantage of employee benefits.
And how would I know when's the right time to make those decisions?
When it comes to transitioning from the LLC to the S Corp, it's a matter of your business reaching a certain level of income. But there's a lot more to it, because while the business could be at that level or perhaps not quite at that level, if you file jointly with a spouse, we need to take into account their income to see if filing together would be a better idea to put you into that S Corp space, because there's a lot of tax savings there.
That's really
So basically we
gold
should get
right there. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
To get married, Leslie, is that what?
Oh no, I said get with Nicole.
Yeah, I do offer consultation. So if you're ever curious to perhaps talk about getting your business, to see if you're at that point or how to get to that point, we can set up a time to talk more about it on a one-on-one level. But again, I just want to do a quick run through of some, as we're talking about tax strategies and savings. I already kind of touched upon choosing the right business structure, whether it's the S Corp or the C Corp. Generally, we're talking about C Corps and LLCs because we're all individuals here. You can be a sole proprietor LLC, or you can be a one-person S Corp. You can be the only person on the payroll and take advantage of all the employee expenses. You don't necessarily have to hire personnel to take advantage of these tax savings. And then, again, we talked about the traditional IRAs and the Roth IRAs, where the traditional, if you're self-employed, you would claim the contributions on your taxes at the end of the year. But if you're doing it through an employer, through a payroll, it comes out of your paycheck. So there's different ways to go about it. And then you can add that employer match once you're on that payroll. The Roth IRA, however, can also still go through your payroll, but it is after tax dollars. So it's a matter of deciding where's your income now and where you think you're going to be in retirement. That's really how you decide whether to go with a traditional or a Roth. If you're a high earner now, perhaps going with the traditional would be better. Or if you're projecting your income to grow over time, then perhaps a Roth would be better so that you can take it out tax-free later when when you're in a higher tax bracket. And then the HSA, the ultimate tax tool, I call it it's like the triple whammy, right? You can deduct it from your paycheck pre-tax, you can withdraw it without tax, and then you can make so tax-free contributions, tax-free growth, and tax-free withdrawals. And while it can only be used for medical, one thing I like to point out to my clients, and this is why I'm such a huge push on the HSA, is because while we're young and healthy, we may not see the need for something like a health savings account. But as we age and our medical needs grow later on down the road, you don't want to have to be faced with the burden of medical bills. And then in retirement, you're trying to live off that retirement account that you've saved up for. And if you have kids, can't tell. I can personally say I'm grateful for having an HSA, because when my kid broke his arm and we had to take that unexpected ambulance ride to the emergency room, that HSA really came in handy to help pay those bills.
And this is also something that Nicole kind of alluded to, but those can be an investment tool where you can grow it over time, like she said, and also can be used as part of your long-term care strategy as well. So it's not something you have to use every year. It's going to continually grow as long as you've been in there. So
it stays with you
definitely
through retirement, so it's yours forever. It'll just keep growing, as you said.
awesome. And then this is kind of the last checklist that Sonia has, and then we'll open it up to some Q&A.
Yeah, so I created this to make it, short and easy. So we're all registered, right? Is anybody not registered? Okay. Do we all, this is a big one. Do we all do we know what an operating agreement is? Do we have one? Okay. I see a no. I love your honesty. Love it. Do I see another no? No. Okay. So we need to talk about that more. Okay. So no problem. The operating agreement is basically the rules of what you do, how you do it, why you do it, who should not do it, who should do it. And it's extremely important for the protection aspect, not just for the business, but for your personal assets. So it comes into play as part of the asset protection strategy that I work with for my clients, because I don't just do estate plan and probate, but I also do asset protection. Okay. So that's important, the operating agreement. Whoever doesn't have one, make a little note to get back to me with that. Okay, so a business succession plan. What is it? It's basically the legal documentation that you need to legally ascertain that your business is protected if you were to become disabled or pass away. It's what you leave behind as part of your legacy. It's what you leave behind to protect what you have been working your life for, so that it doesn't just fall apart. Okay. If you are a licensed professional, or if you are a digital millionaire, like these people that sell digital products, whatever it is that you sell, it doesn't matter. I work with people I have a dental clinic right now. I work with dentists all the way through to digital entrepreneurs. And they all need an estate plan, but different things. Okay. Because everything is very customized depending on your situation, depending on whether you're a parent or not, depending on whether your children are minors or adults, depending on what you want to protect your children against. Sometimes we want to protect our children from themselves. That's why there's clauses that we design to protect people from addiction, gambling, impulsive behavior, possible lawsuits because they are a licensed professional, so they're a vulnerable population, or they are disabled, so they need a special needs trust, or they need clauses to protect them for when they actually get the benefit so that they don't get disqualified. Or it could be as simple as wanting to protect your child from a spouse, from a potential divorce. We know that divorce rates are very high in this country, and the more money you have, the more expensive the divorce is going to be, and the uglier it can be. So these are ways that you can protect your business and your family. So that would be the part of business succession plan. My business is included in my estate plan. Okay, so how many of you have an estate plan? You can put it on the chat if you do. Okay, so that's important to have. Okay. Yeah, a lot of us don't, you know. It's one of those things we don't like to talk about. Life gets in the way, literally. You know, life just, takes over, and we're in that sandwich. So we're very busy. We've got the kids, we've got the house, we've got the laundry, we've got the business. We are treading water, and then mom and dad get sick, or grandma and grandpa, and then all of a sudden things get even heavier, and we put ourselves in the back and put ourselves in the back until a friend gets a stroke, or until a neighbor gets into a car accident. And that's when I get the call, because that's how it happens, So we don't want to do that. That's why I do these things. And this is the second webinar I do with Leslie, and I love it. I love to teach business owners, especially parents, because estate planning is not just for the millionaires. It really isn't. It's one of these types of law that have been kind of like hidden away for the millionaires that look a certain way and are a certain age, but it's not like that. So my mission is to bring it out to the people that need it most, to parents that are investors and business owners. So that's all I have to say about that, Leslie.
And I'm gonna throw, because I know we're kind of at the end, so I'm gonna put our information up here, and we'll hang out around for a bit to ask or answer any questions that y'all have. But please, please, please take advantage of us, not only in our business capacity, but like I said, we all have a large network that we can connect you to other people if you need it. If you have specific questions, all three of us are happy to get on a call with you together and like put a plan together for you if you are missing any of those puzzle pieces that we spoke about today. Everything that we did speak about is not general knowledge, unfortunately. I always like to ask people, why do you think it's not required to have an estate plan? Why do you think it's not required to have life insurance? Why do you think it's not required to have long-term care insurance? But it is required to have all those other insurances. So just something to keep in mind. The things that aren't required are probably the ones that are going to bring the most benefit to you, but without you having them, probably bring the most money to someone else. So you want to keep as much as you can in your own house, in your own pocket. But with that, we can do a general Q&A if anybody wants to jump on or unmute yourselves, I guess. Or if there's any questions in the chat that didn't get answered.
I don't have any questions on the chat, so if anybody just wants to unmute and talk. This is
no questions, but very informative meeting or webinar. I think the answer to the question on the slipped my mind on maybe I'll think of it. Come back to me.
Yeah, I have a
okay, it's
question,
late. Don't
actually.
worry.
What's the difference between having a business succession plan and a buy-sell agreement? Or is it kind of the same thing?
The buy-sell agreement is part of the business succession plan.
Okay.
That's a good question. Yeah. And some people don't need the buy-sell, agreement. It depends on the type of business it is, on the type of control they want to have when they retire, because the buy-sell agreement doesn't even have to be if they pass away. It kicks in when they're no longer working there. So they can retire and they don't want the spouse of the partner to buy their half, because that person doesn't know what they're doing and they want to continue getting income from that business. So that would be an example. So it's part
So
of
you
the
could,
bigger.
so you could essentially, like, using that same plumber example, say
Mhm.
only another plumbing
Correct.
professional can buy the
Right.
shares and take over that side. Okay.
Right. Like, for example, dentists, this is another one because I literally was working on that trust before I jumped on this. So for them, their buy-sell agreement has a right of refusal to one of their children who is
Mm,
a dentist, a Florida dentist. So that person gets the right of refusal. They have other children that would love to be able to be owners, but Florida law requires that the medical practice be owned, like law, that the law firm and the medical practice be owned by another medical licensed professional. So,
mhm. Makes sense.
yeah. I see a
I think
question.
someone has a question up
Yeah.
there.
Is it me with my hand up?
You.
Okay.
Go for it, Mary.
I hopped on a little bit late, so I missed the first part, but I do want to say this was very informative. This is really, really good. And we should have thousands of people on this call because they really need to hear this. So, again, really, really good stuff. My question, and I don't know if you answered this already or not, but do you offer this is for Sonia, I guess do you offer services? For example, I'm thinking of like my mom is going to be 70, and she has like assets and stuff in Dominican Republic and stuff like that. I don't know if it has to do with the country or not, but she doesn't have, a will or anything set in place, so that way her 5 children are not going to fight over it or anything like that. Same thing for my grandfather that is going to be 95 years old this year.
Yeah.
No medication or anything, by the way. He's doing well. But same thing, he has 9 kids, 10 kids, but his assets are in another country. And just, how does that work? Or do you help with
Okay.
that?
So that's a good question. And I actually have a lot of clients because I ran an immigration law practice many moons ago, back in 2000. Oh my God, 2006. I hate to say that out
Yeah.
loud. Oh Lord, time flies. So yeah, at the time I was fluent in French. It was a different thing. And I went to jails all the time. Not anymore. Now I do transactional. So, but I do work with a lot of foreign nationals, especially right now, because even though I'm going to tell you this real quick, but this is important. If you guys know foreign nationals that are here legally or illegally, either one, and they have assets here, they have a business here, or they have a house here, they have children here, there's ways I can protect them. Okay. There's ways I can protect the children, and there's ways I can protect the asset, the business, and the house. So even if they're detained for whatever reason, or they are on an airplane or elsewhere, they can still have access to their children and they can still not lose that property. So that's really important. Okay. And I actually that's like a PSA. I did an Instagram live on this like a week ago, but in Spanish. So this is the English one. Okay.
Okay.
So the foreign nationals, when you have property in Florida, then I have jurisdiction over that person and that asset. So that means I can help you or your parent or your family member protect things that are here in Florida. So let's say that your parent has a house in Miami and a house in the Dominican Republic, which I actually have a client that has exactly that fact pattern. So, and she's got 4 kids. So she wants to divide her assets by the 4 kids equally. No problem. And the father's nowhere to be found. I think he's out of the country. So we have a will because they're minors. The will is very important when you have minor children because it's primarily used for guardian designation. It's for people, like I explained, it's for people that don't have that much to protect, but their children. So the will does not keep you from probate court. Okay, that's very important. The trust does. So the will is the tool and the protection for if you're a parent of a minor child. You always have the will. Now, if you need a trust or not is a different thing because that's more based on your assets. I do not upsell. I actually downsell. I tell people, no, you don't need that. If you want it, fine, but you don't need it, and I work on flat fees. So people talk to me 10 times or 100 times, it's still the same price. So for your dad has property in Santo Domingo, let's say, okay.
Yeah.
So the way that we write that in is we design it to include that property, but this is important. This is American law. That's Dominican law. Over there, it's a different country. So what you would do is open probate or the equivalent in Dominican Republic and then bring the trust with you as evidence of your father's intention with that property located in Santo Domingo or wherever in Dominican Republic.
By the way, it's my mother, not my father.
Okay. So,
but it's a parent. So you
so
got-
that's what, yeah. So that's what you would do. But the estate planning lawyer, like when I do something for you or for your parent, it's to protect the property, the business, the bank accounts, the children, the adult children that are located here. And not necessarily the children having to live here. Let me correct that, because the children could be adults and live outside of Florida. That's perfectly fine. But your assets are here. So then, yes, I would do that. And a lot of things that happen with people that are, that are from other countries, because I'm in South Florida, so that's most of the people here. That's why I love it in Florida. People will have money here and houses here, and then they go home, back to Europe, back to Argentina, whatever. They pass away over there. So now they have family outside of the United States, sometimes inside of the United States, and they need access to those properties, and there's nothing. There's no trust. So now they have to open a probate. And it's difficult. It's complicated because now we need death certificates from abroad in another language. Those need to be apostilled. It's basically a foreign petitioner that is asking the judge, or me asking for them, asking for them to be the personal representative. A lot of the time I have to be the resident agent for that personal representative because they don't live here and they can't be the personal representative without a registered agent. So it just becomes a lot more complicated, a lot more expensive for them, and a lot longer. Right now I have one business owner, passed away in Venezuela, never even came into Florida, has a few dollars in a big bank here in Coral Gables. The wife, he passed away in Caracas. The wife is in Venezuela, the sister's in Germany, and I'm constantly on WhatsApp with them. And they found me because of an international business attorney that I work with, that sends me clients that are of that nature. But that business now, the wife had to deal with the mourning, deal with the minor children, help the minor children with the loss of their father, take out a loan that the sister in Germany had to take out money also over there to keep that business running, because there's a lot of thousands sitting in the bank, but they're not able to touch it because it has to go through probate. So those are things that we don't think about because we're healthy and God bless us. We think that we're invincible, but it's something that we can do to take care of our children and of the investments we've made in our life.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna make sure I want to set up a time to talk to you for sure. So
sounds good. Yeah, I'll put my link in here too on the chat so you guys can just click on it. And I'm going to offer you guys a free legal consultation. You won't find this link on my website. Make sure to click on it or take a picture, scan these right here to schedule with us. Any questions? Any other questions from anybody?
I learned a lot too.
Good. I learned a lot too. Yeah. Can I ask a question actually, Nicole? This is a tax question. Okay, so for those of us that have kids, and I've actually worked with people through this, but I want you to say it because you're the tax expert. So there's this wonderful benefit when we have children and we have our own company, we can hire them, right? and they can work
Mhm.
for us as long as it's,
As
legal.
long as they're actually working for you.
Right.
That's the key. You can't just put them on the payroll and they just go about their lives. You have to pay them a reasonable pay, what you would pay anybody else doing that same work. And yes, you can pay
What's
them
the amount? Tell us all that,
up until the standard deduction, which changes every year. So right now the standard deduction is 15,000.
Oh, that's a good
So that's the most you could pay them. And so what I recommend people do is, yes, you can pay them. So when it's your child, you can pay them up to that amount. The big thing is you don't have to pay the employer taxes. Normally, when you have an employee, the employee pays 7.5% of FICA and the employer pays that other 7.5%. The employer match the tax. Because the child has no tax liability, the business has no tax liability. So that's the benefit of hiring your kids, because now you get a $14,000, $15,000 write-off. They're not paying tax on it, you're not paying tax on it. And then the next thing is to put half of that income into a Roth IRA and start building up that retirement savings. And then start teaching them pay yourself first, right? So you get paid, you put that money away, and what's left is yours.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And then what I do with the rest is I put that thing in the highest yield, the HYSA,
The money markets are the best thing, yes.
and I don't tell them that they have it because forget it, that's for later.
Yep, the money markets are great because they have high interest and it keeps the money accessible. It's not like a CD or, an IRA is great, but there's consequences to making withdrawals if it's a traditional IRA or if you have a 401k. So a money market, if you need to just park some money somewhere that can just build interest. I love telling clients, especially business owners, when they say, well, what do I do? How do I pay myself? How do I make sure that I'm covering myself for taxes, especially if you're 100% self-employed, right? You don't have a paycheck taking taxes out. So what I tell people is to set aside at least 20%. We're in Florida, so if you're in a state that has income tax, I tell them 25%. But set aside at least 20% of your monthly income. At the end of the month, put it in the savings account, a money market, ideally. That way it can continue to grow and your money's making money until it eventually gets paid out come tax season. And then once your taxes are done, you have more than enough to cover your tax liability. Whatever's left over is yours free and clear. If you sell a house, same thing. Set aside 20% of those proceeds because there may or may not be a tax event. It depends on a few other things. So it's safe to have that money set aside. And money markets are my number one recommendation because it keeps the money accessible.
That's really good.
And
And
I
Leslie,
feel
Right now,
what about the cash value life insurance?
that's going to be more of a long-term investment.
Okay.
So if you want to have access to the money, like you want to have that liquidity, then you're going to want to put it. So to you, just the tax value or cash value life insurance is not going to be a good strategy to help pay your taxes.
Yeah.
mhm.
But you can definitely pay them, pay your kids and utilize it that way. If that's what you want, like you were saying for the long term, then that is an option or strategy.
We're all learning tonight. This is great.
And I currently was just introduced, Leslie, actually, you introduced me to Loria Grant, who works over at the bank. And he was just telling me that they're offering money market accounts with a 4% interest rate, which is pretty high, actually. Most savings accounts are like 0.25 or 1%. I mean, 3% is a good rate. So if you can find 4% return on a money market, that means, you put $20,000 in and you're making a couple thousand at the end of the month. So.
I can do money markets too, so.
Oh, good. Okay. I didn't know you did that. See, every time I talk to you, I learn something new.
Yeah.
I was like, and it depends. Yeah, the percentage changes all the time. Yeah.
I think we're over our time. Are there any more questions?
Well, I just want to say thank you all for showing up, and I appreciate everybody that came. I hope everybody learned a lot, and we're definitely here to help you guys. So.
Yeah, please reach out. Really, this has been really fun. So I'm really happy everybody benefited from it.
That was a very good, very informational. Thank you.
Oh, good to hear that.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I hope you all have a really good evening.
Yes. Everybody take care, and we'll speak to you all soon. Okay.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.